Hello, I'm your host, Jenny Hoff, and this is Person to Person. Joining me today are David and Sharah Johnson. David is a professor at the University of Texas MD Anderson Cancer Center in nearby Smithville. Sharah is an attorney as well as the president of the Bastrop Historical Society, and we are here in their beautiful historical home right on Main Street, and they're going to tell us the history of this home in just a second. But first, tell us about the journey to come to Bastrop. How did that happen?
Well, it was actually a journey back to Texas. So, we're both native Texans, and we actually met at the University of Texas in Austin. And so when I was looking for a permanent job and found a position here in Smithville to work for MD Anderson Cancer Center, which is a world-renowned cancer center, we jumped at the opportunity to come back to the Central Texas area and be a part of this community.
Now, the Cancer Center is really renowned, right? You've had Dr. Allison, who is a Nobel laureate, and there's been a lot of cutting edge research in cancer. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, the campus opened up in the late 70s, and Dr. Allison, who did win the Nobel Prize, shared the Nobel Prize in Medicine this year for cancer immunotherapy. He began his career there back in the early 80s. And so, that's one of the claims to fame of that campus. And now it's continued to grow and develop, and now is a leading basic research department studying the causes and potential treatments for cancer.
It was also the site of where they kind of discovered the link between lung cancer and smoking, correct?
That's right. That was one of the other claims to fame that occurred about the time I joined the campus. Was Dr. Eric Tang made that discovery. He found a specific chemical in tobacco smoke bound to a P53 gene, but this gene was mutated in lung cancers, and that provided the molecular link between cigarette smoking and cancer.
So it was a huge incentive. It wasn't just coming back to Texas, but this was a renowned research center, right? Where you would be able to really just be with the best of the best and participate in cutting edge research. Is that really the incentive that brought you here?
It was. Being able to do cutting edge research, but being able to do it in an environment, a park-like setting is where this campus is nestled between two state parks, but having all the same equipment and resources that MD Anderson brings. It's really a unique place to work.
Wow. And how far away is Smithville from here? Do you ever get to come home for lunch, or what's the convenience of your commute?
Well, it's about 15 minutes, and I see one traffic light on the way to work usually. So, I do get to come home for lunch, and it's very nice.
So an easy commute, gorgeous campus, cutting edge research. It's a pretty good life.
It is, yeah.
And right now we're sitting in your guys' beautiful historical home here on Main Street in Bastrop. You can walk in 5 minutes to the town center and go to great restaurants and some beautiful shops. So talk a little bit about your home. Sharah, you are the president of the Bastrop Historical Society. So it means a lot, I'm sure, to own one of these beautiful homes yourself. Tell us about the history of the home we're sitting in right now.
This house was built by about 1851, and we are only the fifth family to live here, which is pretty remarkable. Although there was one family who lived here for 125 years, and that kind of skews it a little bit.
Right, so it's got all the historical touches. You've incorporated all the characteristics. You've really stayed true to what the house was like. You've modernized it. You have conveniences, but it's beautiful. All the furniture, it's been very thoughtfully done to stay within the era in which it was built. Is there a story about this house in particular? Like, do you know the family that lived here, or know about the family that lived here and what role they might have played in the Bastrop community?
We're tied loosely to a famous Texas ghost story.
Oh.
The second owner of the house was the son of Josiah Wilberger, who was a famous Indian scalping victim
Okay.
who survived.
So he haunts this house once in a while?
Well, actually, he was
Perhaps.
dead. Really, he was dead before the house was built, but he did survive several years after the scalping.
Oh.
And so it is kind of a neat Texas ghost story, how he was found. And so that's one of our
Tidbits that you offer on the tour.
tidbits that we offer on the tour. A recent notable owner of the house was Chief Justice of the Texas Supreme Court, Tom Phillips.
Oh, wow.
And that's who we bought our house from.
And I want to talk about how you bought your house. So it's a pretty dramatic story of how you came to be living here. It wasn't that you were just searching for a historical home and this happened to be on the market. Talk a little bit about, you moved to Bastrop for your job. And what year was this? In 1994?
Yes.
94. And you didn't live here originally.
No.
So talk a little bit about how you ended up in this house.
Well, we lived out on McAllister Road and kind of halfway in between Bastrop and Smithville.
In the beautiful pine forest. That's really what helped draw us here as well, was the pretty pine forest that we knew in North Carolina and Sharah grew up with in East Texas. But then the fire in 2011 destroyed all that, including our house. We were very fortunate to be able to find this house. There was many people who were homeless, I guess, looking for houses in the area, trying to reestablish their lives after that fire. And Sharah's friend, Lynn Phillips, called us one night.
And she asked how I was doing, and it was a day that I'd found out that we lost another house that we'd made an offer on. And she asked if we liked her house, and of course, this house is lovely. And Lynn did such a lovely job in decorating it, and so we were so happy when she offered it to us.
So this is really interesting because you had mentioned that you guys had just lost your house in a fire. And it was kind of this moment in life. Are we going to stay here in Bastrop? What are we going to do next? And you said it was really just how the community reached out to you and responded to you and was there in your time of need that convinced you this is your home. Talk a little bit about that. What was that outpouring of support that happened afterwards?
Well, one thing is at the very beginning, everybody was homeless. Our whole neighborhood was gone. And our close friends said, if I have a house, we didn't know whose house was still standing. If I have a house, then you have a house. You can come stay with us. But it turns out none of us had houses.
Wow.
But a friend and neighbor knew somebody who had a rent house, and he, called them that very first morning and sent us over there, and we got the rent house, and the three families lived together.
Wow.
So anyway, it was...
That's amazing. It's amazing. It's a true spirit of community. So talk a little bit about your children. You guys moved to Bastrop. How old were they when you moved here?
Our son was almost 2. Is that right?
Yeah, he was 1.5.
And your daughter wasn't born yet?
Nope.
And so they went through the whole school system here?
They did.
Yeah, this turned out to be a great place to raise a family, I think.
Yeah. What are your children doing now? It's pretty impressive, their path that they've already taken outside of high school, right? And going into the university system.
Yeah, so our son is getting his PhD in biochemistry.
All right.
He's actually at the same school and working in the same laboratory building where I got my PhD.
Wow.
Up in Dallas. And our daughter is also there in Dallas. She graduated from SMU and now has a job as a mechanical engineer.
Wow. Congratulations.
Well, thank you.
They both took a good path. So let's talk a little bit about the Bastrop Historical Society. What does the organization do, and how does it show really like the sense of community? I know you guys have been spearheading so many projects in the area, including exhibitions at the museum. So talk a little bit about the Historical Society and its role in the community.
Well, thank you for asking. The Bastrop County Historical Society was founded by the community, by the Ladies Reading Circle, and they celebrated their 120th anniversary.
Wow.
In 2017.
Wow.
So they're one of the oldest reading circles. But it was that sense of community and volunteerism that they wanted to preserve and protect our unique history. They were a very community-oriented group of women. They also started the first lending library and Ferry Park, further down Main Street. We have just celebrated a major milestone at the museum. We just finished our final permanent exhibit on the coal mines. And our museum is wonderful. I hope you'll go visit while you're here.
You guys really take your culture seriously, right?
We do. And Camp Swift was a major influence in the community, World War II. And we have a wonderful Camp Swift exhibit, but you can still see the influence today. There were some houses that were barracks, and anyway, it's just really neat.
So you can go on the historical tour, you can go learn everything at the museum, and you can really get a sense of what this town is made of. What are some of the things that you love to do in the Bastrop area? Because your house is in the middle of everything. You were saying that you can sit on your front porch out there and watch the parades go by. You can walk into town. What are some of the entertainment options in the Bastrop area that you guys like to take advantage of?
Well, there's a wonderful river walk, a park system that we walk our dog on almost every day. And one of the other things I really enjoy is the live music that they have almost every weekend, multiple places in downtown Bastrop. So you can find country or blues or all different kinds of music. And I guess that's the advantage of getting the overflow musicians from Austin out here in Bastrop.
And having your own homegrown musicians. Larry Wilson, the Peterson brothers. You guys have a lot. Right. You guys have your own homegrown musicians that play a big role in the music scene here in the area. What are some other things that you love to go do?
Well, we have great restaurants and good shopping. Like, my clothes came from a store in Bastrop. And we've got the river walk. I like to jog on the river walk. The dog loves to go.
Festivals, parades.
The parades are so much fun. When we moved here in 1994, one of the first things we noticed was that the entire community participates. You're either in the parade or watching the parade.
Yeah.
That's pretty neat. And you feel like that stays the same even as it grows, as the community grows, that's still the sense that people want to be a part of these big events?
I think so.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it really I think it helps define the character of the town.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Thank you both so much for opening up your home to us and for also sharing what makes Bastrop so special for you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for joining us for this episode of Person to Person and meeting two of the wonderful and involved community members of Bastrop that make this city so vibrant to live in and work. We'll see you next time.